DCSL Corporate Services Limited hosted its second HR Breakfast Roundtable session, which focused on the theme, Strategic Role of the 21st Century HR. Dr. Uche Ato, Senior Lecturer, Lagos Business School, delivering the first presentation, addressed the theme of the event, where he gave insight into effective service delivery rendered by HR practitioners and how businesses evolve.
Any organization that is able to get these three right, that is 1, talent management, 2, leadership development, and the third one, employee engagement. There's need for us to know how the organization makes money. Business knowledge is very key, very, very important. And therefore, we must take time, to understand, sometimes, all those numbers, accounting, and so on, you need to understand those. Understand the strategy of the company. What is the strategy? So you take your time to understand it. And then understand stakeholder mapping in terms of power influence in the organization. The contours with which we manage the HR today, most of them were drawn during an era of economic boom. And therefore, because of the changing environment, HR must create additional or new strategically to enable you manage the new development. Many organizations or many successful HR have already taken those into account, have created parallel structures and institutions that will better or will enable them to better manage the current. We're not discarding, neither are we throwing those things away, but create new ones. Therefore, it is important that you remember that some of those structures are archaic, but we inherited them. Unfortunately, some of them are, they are legal institutions. There's nothing you can do, but you must deploy new sets because that's where you can add value. Every research has shown that the future of organizations worldwide, including Nigeria, will be affected by these three forces. So the future of business worldwide, all these are things that will appear that they will grow more than anything. So how must you position? In addition to all the other things we have said you must do, those 4 things, how must you position so that you continue to be relevant in this area? So I will just put down, in conclusion, some initiatives. And I'm just taking this from a book called Workforce 2020. Some of these, not that you can just implement them at once, but please bear them in mind, because many organizations are moving already in this direction. For instance, number 1, this is one way that organizations try to attract and retain talent. Some of the talent will demand things that are not within our structure. I'm not talking about you must pay so much, but some of the things they will be asking for. How do you creatively manage it without destroying the entire system you have built? Learning. You must begin to reward learning. Culture includes champion openness, transparency. All these are things that I'm sure that you are fully aware of. But the idea is that you must begin to take the practice beyond those traditional things that we do. Not that you just rush into this immediately, but build it, because this is the way you are strategic. Because you are dialing into the long-term interest of the organization.
The country human resource manager, Mantrak Nigeria Limited, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Oshinaike, speaking on managing performance for growth, highlighted the basic steps in performance management and the tools deployed to motivate employees.
When you want to do performance management, first of all, you have to think of strategy. every company must have a strategy. What's our strategy for performance management? Strategy is very key because it's where the vision is usually what is used to decide what the strategy is. And the strategy is what is usually cascaded down that becomes action plans and tasks for each of us in our everyday jobs. So there must be that strategy for every company. They must decide our performance management, what do we seek to achieve? Now, for my performance management strategy, looking at it, it says it must complement the company's overall strategy. There must be that connection. You must be able, you must relate to the company's strategy because performance strategy cannot be going this way, and the company's strategy is going the other way. It should also seek to achieve the company's goals and objectives. We've seen that in the two definitions we've looked at. And communication is key. People must understand what that strategy is. How you communicate it matters a lot. I'm sure a lot of us have learned about the importance of communication. It's not just you saying it, but it's people understanding it, relating to it, and actually using it, using that information. And then you must also improve and develop employees. You continue to see that repeat of not just the company's goals and objectives, but also what is the need for the employees. Because what I always tell people, what you make people a part of, they want to make it happen when it's time to implement. If that person is doing well, let that person know. We set the objectives in January. By March, the person is doing excellently well. It doesn't hurt to say, you're doing a good job. One, that person is encouraged to do more. Two, that talent most likely will stay with you because he knows that what he or she is doing is being appreciated. Then dialogue. A lot of line managers are afraid of dialogue. That's why they don't do feedback. I've worked in a system where appraisal, mark, submit, and I asked the employee, they gave you, I didn't know what they gave, no, I didn't know what C they gave me. Didn't you see your appraisal? No, I didn't. Didn't you discuss it? No, I didn't. Because a lot of line managers are afraid to do this, to dialogue. So the basic steps, just to follow through to what I said. Goal setting, you set the goals. You monitor performance. There's periodic assessments, that's regular feedback on how you're performing. There's review of performance against objectives. And that's usually when you now do that at the very tail end of that period. And then action plan for improvement or development. You're doing very well, but you can also do this. You're doing very well, we're thinking of you doing this. Or you're doing well in these areas. In these areas, you still need some more, help. You need some more training, coaching, whatever it is that this is part of the performance management system.
Also, the future of work, flexi work days, a development, fast encroaching workspace in the 21st century, was presented by Ms. Ikeoluwapo Adebowale, Chief People Officer, Terragon Group.
Every HR professional is a leader. You are a leader and you're a change manager. Invariably, you are the one leading the organization. Do you know why? Because before the CEO makes a decision, he needs to defer to you for your advice. To say, look, what do you think? Because guess what? To be able to drive his vision, he needs people. And who manages people? Dr. Uche gave an example today about Unilever HR director that became MD and chairman. I always tell people that, look, the two most qualified people to become CEOs is either the CFO or the CHRO or the CPO. Do you know why? Because the marketing person sees only marketing, the tech person sees only tech, the sales person sees only numbers. But you see the whole picture because you engage with everybody. I tell my HR team, I don't want anybody seated in this department. I want you out. Go and sit down with people within the business. Go and hear what they have to say. Go and see what their pains are. Go and feel them. Go and understand them. Because it is because we don't feel their pain. That's why you say qualified candidate and you say, you've not served, I can't employ you. If you feel their pain, in fact, you will look for what to organize to make sure that guy enters that company because you know that this person is going to add value to the business. Flexible thinking. That's the fundamental thing that I really want to attack here. Because see, flexi work days is, it's one of those things that HR people we always hear. Everybody wants to, when Dr. Uche was presenting, everybody was writing. So we all go back, usually we all go for seminars and conferences and we write everything on the 21st century and then we go back to our offices and say, look, we want to implement this, we want to implement this. The question is, are those things relevant to where you're working? there's nothing like best practice anymore. What is practicable to where you are? What is practicable to your organization? Sometimes people come to me and they say, oh, your performance management system, how did it work? I'll tell them, look, I can run you through how mine worked, but please don't go and copy it. Because I've worked in different organizations and I have had to tweak the things that I had done in the past to apply to what exists. So it's very key for us as HR people to be flexible in our thinking. One size does not fit all anymore, even within the same organization.
Mrs. Oluwakemi Shonubi, Group Head Human Capital Development, the GIG Group, engaged participants on the workplace diversity, managing conflict, and listed the conflict types and resolution modes for HR practitioners.
You have 4 layers of when you're talking about diversity. These other parts are the dimensions. Personality, that is the center. That is our core, your preferences, the things that distinguish us, right? That make you, what's your name, ma'am? Yetunde, who you are. Now, the second layer is internal dimensions, where the age, race, gender, those things come with birth. We don't have so much control on those things. How old am I? Is the day they gave birth to me now. I came as female. I didn't change inside the stomach. I'm tall. I don't know if you understand. Those things, I don't have control over them. So that's where you have your race, your ethnicity, physical ability. You necessarily don't have control. Now, you have your external dimensions. That is basically formed by your experience, our choices. Now, your organizational dimensions, the difference in the workplace, your level. You know, are you a HR manager? Are you a HR director? Are you a marketing lead? What role do you play? Because those things actually change the dynamics. If you're sitting with a CFO, for example, the kind of conversations I will be having with is my peer, right? And if I'm sitting with a manager, it's a different conversation. So these are your 4 layers, but all these other things. So management status, union affiliation. Not many people have dealt with union. That's another, it's a bucket. Oh. It's a unique bucket. It needs grace of God, you know. Work location, seniority. Those things also bring diversity to the mix. So the greater diversity of the workforce, right, is a greater potential for misunderstanding. Do we understand that? And a lot of times we HR people don't know how to play in that space. People are entitled to their differences. So it's understanding that difference and seeing how best to unite it, okay? Each of us brings life perspective. We bring different things into the workplace. Sometimes our experience with disrespect, insult, and unfair treatment, it just sort of forms our way of thinking and our way of acting. So we need to have a sense of acceptance. To the story I was saying, diversity training, we actually need to understand what it means, because your own reality, my reality is different from your reality. Where you live, where I live is different. What stress you get to come to work is different. Do you understand? Those are the realities. So diversity training helps employees understand and accept while respecting other people.
Lagos Business School lecturer Mr. Nkemian Nacho, in his presentation on succession and talent management, emphasized the importance and principles of succession planning and why it should be treated as a risk management strategy.
Critical gaps in skill areas across the board include things like problem-solving, ethics. You know, you're looking at soft skills like influencing skills, emotional intelligence, and various skills that our educational systems, our tertiary educational systems, are ill-equipped to actually offer to the entering labor force. Now, if talent, by the way, is key to competitiveness, and by the way, remember, talent is not valued on the balance sheet. I mean, I'm delighted that a lot of the HR professionals here are accountants. They've not been able to figure out how to actually attach the value of the skills and the human beings in the organization on the balance sheet. Accountants call them what? Intangibles, right? But what you tend to realize are that these intangible assets have become probably the most critical resource organizations have. A consulting firm has absolutely no value without the talent who actually sit in the firm and drive the business of the firm. The building has no value. The cars have no value. The real value is who? In the talent. Even if they have ₦1 billion in the bank, it has no value. It doesn't have the capacity to generate what? Business for the consulting firm. For companies to gain competitiveness, they need to recruit talented local people with the skills to manage stakeholders, and they also need to identify and retain people who have the ability to develop and sustain partnerships. You as HR managers, my charge to you this afternoon is that you have to become a lot more rigorous about grooming your talent for advancement and ensuring that the people you have in your organizations are held more accountable for who their realistic successors are. Your respective organizations have to tune into this process early enough so that very sound decisions can be made when balancing decisions around whether to promote from within or whether to hire from outside. Because there's always that feeling that, yes, we need to bring in high-profile people to come and turn some things around and work some magic. That's something that I get to see every day. And once CEOs and business leaders confront me with this question, I ask them, what do you think this magician is coming to do? For a lot of smaller businesses, the roles they typically like to fantasize in their mind is a COO, a Chief Operations Officer, who will come and oversee and make sure everything begins to work on water. So that's the challenge. And one thing I want to tell you, HR leaders today, have it at the back of your mind. Those types of people you're looking for don't exist. We need to accept that reality. Those people don't exist in this market. I've worked with over 100 companies. I've tasted and I have engaged with different types of culture across different industry contexts. It is time that we bring back that old culture where organizations and multinationals invested in building, grooming, sustaining, and growing talent internally.
Mrs. Ann Agbo, Head Company Secretarial Unit of DCSL Corporate Services, in an interview, shared the essence of the roundtable session and the value it will bring for participants and the HR space.
The heads of those units or departments in the different organizations. So we thought to have a forum where people could sit together and share their experiences and learn from more experienced professionals or practitioners in that area. I think that today's event was particularly useful because these different sessions covered topics that were very germane to human capital management and human resource practices in Nigeria. And so I think all the participants most definitely found it very useful.
Tinu Adeyemi, Group Head Human Resources and General Services Computer Warehouse Group PLC, talks on the major takeaways and lessons learned attending the workshop as a participant.
I think my 4 hours was well spent. Well spent. So I picked a few things on the succession planning, as how to manage the Canada effect and the London effect. That's actually a big issue in the industry now, where all your talent will come and work to you one day and say, oh, I'm leaving for the UK, I'm leaving for Canada with my family. But today I think I got a new insight to that.
At the end of the dialogue, it is expected that HR practitioners will work more to understand the dynamic nature of work in the 21st century and beyond to drive maximum productivity in their respective organizations.